Joining us right now, Texas Tech legend and Pro Football Hall of Famer Zach Thomas joining us here on everythinglubbock.com. Zach, congratulations and thanks for the time. I know it has to have been a whirlwind weekend for you.
It's been wild, very humbling experience, but definitely got time for Lubbock, Texas. I tell you what, that small window of time I was there 4 years at Tech was like the best time of my life. It was, the Spike Dike days, and I wish he was alive to have seen this. Same goes to John Goodner, to, Dean Slayton, Gary Gaines, all these coaches, God bless them, they all passed away and time's flying. But during that time, I learned a lot from those guys. And Dean Campbell, I could keep going. And there's so many guys, from players, Marcus Coleman, Robert Johnson, to Sean Banks, these guys that were linebackers were beside me. They mean a lot to me. I'm going to represent Lubbock with pride, man, because the town was so good to me, man.
Well, and let's start there. I mean, you mentioned that you're going to represent Lubbock with pride. A lot of people, have talked about EJ Holub and somebody that they had hoped had gotten into the Hall of Fame, but you're the guy. You're the very first guy. What does it mean to be the first Red Raider to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Wow, man, I just found out just earlier that I didn't know. I thought EJ might have made the Hall of Fame. He deserved it, and to be that, because I know I'm not going to be the last after I've been watching the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a special guy. But to be the first, man, that's humbling too. When you think about it, when I was like 8 years old and I started football, I mean, I was just obsessed with it, and I loved it. But I never could imagine just even playing in the NFL. You're from a small town in West Texas there, between Pampa and White Deer, and I was undersized, and from a small town, if you have those big dreams, everybody just kind of, okay, good luck, and I got doubted the whole way, and I think that motivated me. But I bet on myself. I believed in myself, even when I said, hey, I want to make the NFL one day. And a lot of people laughed at it, but man, to even go another level to the Hall of Fame, I don't know, it's wild, man. I'm just so proud of the people that were in my life that made it happen, because you're not self-made. Starting out in White Deer, we won our first state championship, man. I think that was the best team I ever played on, to be honest with you, seriously.
Yeah.
A senior class that was very unselfish. We had a star in my brother, Bart Thomas, and we won the state championship when we shouldn't have. And so special to me. I think that motivated me for more. Very hard to win it all, especially in the state of Texas, and to come to Lubbock as well, man, to have the great coaching and the great players around me, and just the Saturday afternoons, man, I miss. It's like, that crowd was electric. It was the dry Lubbock. Nobody could win in Lubbock, and I remember the fight song. I missed the Matador running after a touchdown, and then also those flying tortillas out there. Do they still throw those, David?
Oh, 100%, Zach. It seems like it's even more now, and it's grown, and it's got a life of its own. And, if that ever ends, I don't even know if they should even play football out here anymore.
Hey, I've heard more stories about those flying tortillas, especially even from players that played there. I think, I don't know, I'm rambling away, but John Elmore, he played for UT. He said he got hit with one, and he looked at it on the ground, and he heard the fan go, you're hungry, fat boy, eat it. Like it's just, oh, man. It's just good stories.
Yeah. You mentioned the great 4 years that you had here, and obviously you mentioned the goals and everything, getting to the, NFL. But what was your goal, like your real goal, whenever you got to Lubbock, Texas? You mentioned it, you're kind of an undersized guy and everything like that, and I'm sure that your coaching staff had faith in you. But what was your goal coming here? What did you want to do as a Red Raider?
I never even thought about the NFL when I was a Red Raider. I just thought about being the best at my feet at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was in the moment, and never went too far ahead. It's the same in high school. You know, I didn't think about college until after my senior year, and I was doing the recruiting trips. But when I was in at Tech, I had some competitors around me, and we just tried to be our best. We had a great defense, especially my senior year, and it was sure was fun. It was a great time of my life, and I'm very grateful for the town of Lubbock. I mean, so much support around there, the spirit. Even today, you know, Kirby Holcutt always contacts me out of respect. He doesn't have to, man. I played back in the leather helmet days, you know, and it's like for him to just keep me involved and feel like I'm part of the team is humbling. You know, and that's where I'm proud to be a Texas Tech Red Raider. As you see, I got Texas Tech shirt. You know, my closet, all my friends out here in South Florida, like, we know you went to Texas Tech. I mean, I'm a walking billboard out here, man. And it's all the equipment staff out there always get to know. Like, they always send me tech stuff, and I wear them all the time, even workout clothes. So I'm proud, man. I'm very proud to be a Texas Tech Red Raider, man. And it was part of my life, and I'm very grateful for that.
You got a Red Raider there on the Dolphins now too, Eric Izukama. Do you get a chance to go out there and do much with the Dolphins anymore, or is it just, you know, you're being dad now?
I'm being dad most of the time, but I go out. You know, they asked me to speak to the team, and I go out there to see my boy, another former Red Raider, Wes Welker, and
Mhm.
he talks about Easy all the time. He really likes him. Very respectful kid too. But I tell you what, Wes should be next. You know what I'm saying? That this guy dominated. He abused that slot and really pretty much helped Tom Brady for a long time. But I know for 5 straight years or 6, it's incredible. He led the league every year. I remember, you know, even after we traded him to the New England Patriots, I was like, because of their system and their scheme, I'm like, this guy's going to lead the league in receptions every year. You know, because he had, like, I think 67 or 70 catches or something with our quarterback at the time. This isn't Dan Marino. He already retired. And so I don't even know what quarterback we had at the time, but Wes would just abuse that slot. And so anytime we played him, he abused me with a couple good routes before. And I love the guy, man, and I'm definitely going to be supporting him too. Maybe he'll be next. You better be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him. I actually was an intern in Oklahoma City at a television station there, and they used to send me to the small school games, and I got to cover Wes Welker while he was in high school. I'm kind of a Wes Welker homer in that sense. Um, you know, I mean, the numbers at wide receiver now are just ballooning like crazy, but there has to be something said for a guy that kind of changed the position, right? I mean, just for that alone, I would think his contribution to the game would warrant enough for him to get in, right?
He changed the game. Everybody, it's a copycat league. And you notice that everybody would spread everybody out. Everybody tried to be like the Patriots because they were dominant for 2 decades, you know, and that consistency, that moving the chains, he was that guy. And he was undersized too. I'm a big fan always, man. I love that guy. And we stay in touch today, but for him to dominate the way he did was awesome. And he's humble. I feel like that. I don't know if it's that, you know, Oklahoma, small town. Same goes, you know, well, same goes with Patrick Mahomes. That guy's humble. I'll tell a story. Cliff Kingsbury asked me to come talk to the team back in the day, and I talked to the team, and he said afterwards, he said, "Hey, Zach, I want you to talk to this quarterback of mine." And I knew he was good, you know, but there was a lot of quarterbacks that were good, you know, in air raid, you know, and so I just so I talked to him. But the one thing that stuck out to me, he was so attentive. He was writing notes. I'm like, man, this guy's so humble, man. And he was under the radar. It must be that wind that kept his, you know, the stats down. I don't know. He was lighting them up even then, but I don't know how he flew under the radar for the Chiefs to grab him. I wish the Miami Dolphins did, because this guy, man, he's special. I root for him. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This guy's played what 5, 6 years, and he's going to be standing next to you in Canton one of these days
Yes,
already.
sir. That's, hey, for me, I pray for him, man, to just have a long career. Because if he has a long career, I mean, he's already, I'm just saying, like, as in not jinxing the guy.
Yeah.
I'm all about that, man. I like, he's great for the NFL, and that's what you want, especially at quarterback, for somebody to stay humble because you got to control your ego. You know, it's one thing that can affect your play is your ego, and that guy does it with grace, and I really respect him.
I think a lot of people will say that you've certainly been very graceful in the last few years. We'll get to the announcement in a second, but how difficult were those last 3 years? Just knowing you were on the cusp and to not have Jimmy Johnson standing there letting you know that you're in.
Yeah, not difficult at all. It's all perspective. The way I looked at it is like, man, if you're in conversation, you win, man. Especially with all these great players that can be deserving, And so why would I ever be ungrateful when a game's so good to me? It's been so good to me. And that's why I always go back to when I was 8 years old and say, hey, if you never make the Hall of Fame, but they're talking about you, I'd be like, what? I'll take it all day. It's all perspective and it's a team game. Like I said, if my defensive line were having a bad day, so was I. It doesn't matter. I got lucky and blessed that we had a talent evaluator in Jimmy Johnson to put all these studs around me. They're bad dudes, man. And I was a lot tougher out there when you have those guys doing all the dirty work in front of you, And so that's what I was grateful for, man. I wasn't, it's all ego when it comes to thinking you deserve something. I never played that way. The game was too good to me. I would never disrespect the game or disrespect players that went in or guys I was competing with. Well, what am I going to do now? I mean, I'm not competing anymore. This is just the most prestigious honor. And I was just happy to be in the conversation.
What did it mean to you? You talked about your teammates and being a team game. What did it mean to you? I remember doing a newscast a couple of years ago and specifically running Kevin Mawai talking about you. And then after that, Peyton Manning, Brian Urlacher, who has just gotten so much grief after he got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame with people reminding the stat comparison. What does it mean that all of your peers have come to bat for you and made it be known that you belonged with them?
Man, that's what's most important to me. It's not just the award, the accolades, it's the respect that you earn from your opponents, from your teammates. If you're a good teammate or not, you're not the guy that's all about themselves, and that's important. I mean, I got huge respect from Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, like you said, to Drew Brees, all the quarterbacks that are the tops in the game. They're all first ballot guys, right? Kevin Mawai, Bill Belichick. Come on, man. I already won, even if I didn't make the Hall of Fame. When you get that type of respect, that's number one with me, man. That's why I take great pride in that because, I'm not saying there's Hall of Famers that weren't all about themselves because there are, but nobody respects those players, man, in time, even if you're a Hall of Famer. And I wasn't that guy. I don't know if you can find one teammate of mine that would say I was all about myself.
Yeah. And I think that's just as important as anything there. Okay. Now this is all about you. When you're walking up the steps and you see everybody lined up there and Coach Johnson's got that gold jacket on, what immediately pops in your head?
Wow. I couldn't breathe. I just, it was so powerful for him to be there because, hey, Jimmy doesn't get out of the house, man. I mean, only for Fox, and I know that even when I was engaged to my wife, Maritza, we went down and I was having beers with him and I said, Coach, I got engaged. Oh, congratulations. So he tells my wife, I don't do funerals and I don't do weddings. And that's it. Like, that's just Jimmy, So it's, so I was so surprised, man, when he was there. He's my man. And I feel like that's why it was so powerful because just like Spike had done and let me start later in my career, my rookie year, he, from before we even played a game, started me from the first jump, man. We had Jack Del Rio there and he cut him in the preseason. And he came to me and said, Zach, don't let me down. And that's what I kept thinking in my head. I said, I'm not going to let you down because you know what? You gave me an opportunity. I could have went anywhere else. And maybe there's a couple spots, but it's so much the scheme that you need and the players around you and the coach to believe in you to get that chance. I think most of the time they just thought of me as a special teams player. He'd be a good solid backup. But when I got thrown in that 4-3, man, that was the best play of my career. That 4-3, they protect you, you roll around. But back to what I was saying, I did not want to let him down. And I was with the Dolphins for 12 years. So I felt like, I'm in the Hall of Fame now, so I didn't let him down.
Right. When did that actually go down? Obviously, it's been a little bit. Was that a couple of weeks ago? I mean, when did the?
Yeah, my mom took me to lunch, and she was in on it, and my sister to my wife and all that. And I'm surprised that the Thomas family didn't leak it out because that's the most surprising thing because we definitely like to brag a little bit, and but they didn't leak it out, and I got surprised. It was an awesome moment. My kids got to see it, and that was special because my kids didn't watch me play, man. And so I'm very proud about that. So, very special moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
So this past weekend, what has that been like? Like you said, you go over the facility and stuff like that, but it's not like you're out and about at football games nonstop. And then it's just like, bam, here I am. Welcome back. You remember me type deal. What was this past week like?
It was overwhelming, but it was special because meeting the guys going in with you, from the Joe Kleckos to DeMarcus Ware, DeMarcus out there in Texas, that guy was unbelievable. Awesome teammate. Darrelle Revis to Joe Thomas, Rondé Barber. We have a squad, and you all respect each other to spend time. It was a lot of interviews. It was a lot of commitments, but the whole Hall of Fame staff was just awesome. So, man, I'm just so grateful to represent, West Texas and the Lubbock to, the Miami Dolphins in Canton. It's going to be fun, man. I can't wait. It is a lot of, you're going to have to prepare a speech, man. So
you got somebody writing that for you, or is it all?
I never passed English, man. I need somebody to write my speech, but I'll start rambling away and maybe they can make it sound smart, but it's going to be special, man. I can't wait.
Did you ever play in a Hall of Fame game? Have you ever been to Canton?
I did. We played back before Dan Marino got in, and it was special then. I mean, when I came to the Miami Dolphins, and I just remember my first days, and I'm out there and I see Dan Marino under the center. I'm like, my God, man, like Dan Marino, that's Dan. And then, he burnt me for a few plays. So like, okay, no more of that. No more Dan Marino. You can't be in all of these guys.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, he's a legend, and he's definitely reached out for the respect. Even being there, he found me in Arizona. And so I told my wife, I'm not having one drink. And then Dan Marino comes up, and then I'm like, hey, I can't turn a drink down from a legend, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't do it, So, but it was an awesome feeling, man. Be out there in Arizona at the Super Bowl.
Have they talked to you about the bust process? Do you know, do they do a mold? How does that work? Do you know?
I don't know. They got their work cut out with my head. I got that melon, man. They used to nickname me Buckethead, Pumpkinhead, whatever it was. But, especially when I had that jawline, it was special. But yeah, they did go over it. They did the measurements already, which is pretty cool, man. It's an awesome ordeal. And you see all the former legends before you in a catalog. Well, not a catalog, but you know what I'm saying? It's a pamphlet, whatever you call that. But, to see those guys, man, it's humbling because guys you used to watch, Mike Singletary, Deion Sanders, the whole Dallas squad. I used to love Troy Aikman, Mike Wervin, all those guys that are going, they're already in. legendary, man. And that definitely, it was even back in the early 90s when I was at Tech, man. I remember watching the Cowboys and Jimmy. I mean, it's special. It was very motivating. I was a big Cowboy fan.
Yeah, you got a year in there, right?
Yeah, well, I did that. Um, I'll tell you what, it's a great organization. I love Jerry Jones. Um, I played out of position just to come home. My grandpa was sick. And I felt like I wanted to play for the Cowboys. I didn't play, the Mike linebacker, which it made it tough, especially when you play behind DeMarcus Ware, man. He makes all the plays. But it was one of those deals. I had to come home. And you know what's crazy? Not to get too in depth, but I got to fly home. They flew me, the Cowboys, when my grandpa was very sick and severely ill. They flew me enough time to talk to him, and he passed away that day. How crazy is that, man? It makes me tear up. But he was so happy that I was going to be a Cowboy. He didn't get to see me play as a Cowboy, but they flew me up there, man. How much respect is that, man? To be able to have last words. I just remember coming in there. He's like, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in training camp." The Cowboys flew me in, man. And how much respect you got for them to do that, for me to even have words with him. And it wasn't maybe 4 or 5 hours he passed, man. But that was a special moment and first class organization to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you provided plenty of special moments for Red Raider fans. I obviously know the one in particular. Is there another one besides the interception against A&M that you go, well, what about this play? To the fans that bring up the play.
There was, and I think I wanted to be a running back my whole life pretty much. And so anytime I got my hands on the ball, I think it was my junior year, I was leading the nation in picks. And I don't know if it was 4 or 5, I could be exaggerating it, but earlier on I had a bunch of picks, interceptions, and I think I did the flip in the end zone versus New Mexico, and I did it later in my career. I'm like, man, I almost hurt my ankle doing it in Tennessee when I landed. And so I said, I'm too old for this now. But back to running back, I think, when I came in as a freshman, thank God Van Morris was there, because he was a sophomore and he was awesome. And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing fullback. Nah, I'm going to defense. And they put me on defense because Rick Dykes pretty much wanted me as a fullback. And man, how crazy is that, isn't it? When you think about it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be right here today if I was a fullback. Come on, man. Like, for him to be there, perfect timing. You get a little lucky and a little blessed along the way, but thank God Van Morris was there at fullback because I went to linebacker and I started that year towards the end of the year. After that, it was special.
The rest is history. Zach, we appreciate your time. Congratulations. Hopefully we get to catch up with you again before or maybe around the time that you get into Canton. But if we don't, it's been a pleasure. And as always, a great representative of West Texas and certainly Texas Tech.
Yes, sir. Guns up all day.